Hello, on today's episode of the Comics Panel, we're going to talk about why DC rocks.
And why does DC rock?
Well, because they're the better of the two comic company publishers, but that personal opinion aside, DC is outselling Marvel at this point in time.
Oh, Kurt's saying something. I heard from somewhere, comiccron.com, the top 50 comic books sold, 11 were Marvel, 1 was Image. That means 37 had to be DC.
38.
Wrong.
Oh, wrong? Oh, I'm wrong.
38.
It's 38. You're
38.
right.
Huge number. It's huge.
It's huge.
It's going to be huge.
So we're looking at 38 DC comics. And we got our producer to laugh, so we're getting ice cream, guys. Yippee-yi-yi.
Well, why is that?
As a disclosure, I mean, I want to be open. I'm a Marvel fan. I've always been a Marvel fan, so
I think you can say you're a Democrat.
So I'm not going to, just want to let you know that I'm also a Marvel fan, but DC is totally kicking it
You're
right
wearing
now.
a Marvel shirt. I get it.
Right now, DC definitely is kicking butt.
Deadpool.
Really, really good stuff. Not just because they're producing maybe a little bit more, because on a lot of the core titles, they are doing 2 a month now, as opposed to Marvel's 1. But I think their storylines and their heroes have really come together, and I don't see that with Marvel too much.
They're just too busy fighting each other all the time.
Yeah, fighting a lot of infighting between the characters and rehashing
making
things
characters
like that.
not
Civil
be
War
their
II,
characters.
like
One thing I forgot to mention, this was September 2016.
So this is recent, yeah.
Now, the last one that just came out for October, 5 spots. DC on 4 of them, Marvel on 1. The first top 3 is Batman, All-Star Batman, Batman 6, All-Star Batman, and Batman number 7. So that means Batman rocks.
Yeah, well.
Batman rocks.
Batman does have some great storylines out right now.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, yeah, and he's usually
And I
all over
joke,
the place, but he really is all over the place right now.
So to top 3 are DC. Marvel came in 4th, and then there was Justice League at 5th. So you're looking at DC knows what they're doing. Let's talk price point. We always talk about price point because DC got away from they're drawing the line at $2.99. They got away from it, and now they're coming back. Do you think that's a reason for their success?
I think that's part of the reason. It's a cheaper book, which is more affordable for the people.
Right.
But I also think it goes along with their storylines. It's a hand-in-hand thing.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's only $1 difference, and I don't want to say only $1 difference, but at the same time, if you're buying 2 or 3 titles, it's only 2 or 3 more dollars. You know what I mean? That's one extra book that you can get. But at the same time, if it's not something you want to read, who cares?
But how about the collectability for kids? You got to get kids into it, and if you keep pushing these books at $4.99, $5.99, and keep going up and up, with not keeping the price point, so kids who are the new blood coming into your store, and if they can only buy 1 book for $5 and walk away, sooner or later they're going to say, I can get a lot more with my $5. Going on the computer, buying the password for the latest Pokemon game or whatever,
and buy something else. Yeah.
Put the price point where it needs to be.
Even the digital comics, aren't they the same price as a Marvel book?
Sure.
I would think so, yeah.
It's like
they don't make a difference.
Yeah.
So if you don't keep the
You'd
kids
think
coming
it'd be
out,
cheaper.
well, you got to have the new blood. You definitely, because we're going to be dying out soon. Get the new lines of kids coming in the door, keeping stores open, keeping the books being produced, and you can put the advertisements. They should bear the burden of the cost. Nike wants to be in the top-selling book. This is what's it going to cost you.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to pass the buck down to the kid who only has $5 a week maybe for an allowance or whatever.
Yeah.
Think
or just
about it that
expand
way.
your advertising, more different things that can be advertised, not just the larger companies or in-house ads.
Right. Take the in-house ads out
And
put more money.
Because
the more books you sell, especially if you do a crossover. Say it's a kid never heard of, say, the Red Robin. Well, now he's working in detective. Wow, I like this Red Robin. You don't have to do any in-house advertising. Just have the characters cross over. You're going to do it because that's the way I did it originally when I found all my characters I liked. They appeared in a crossover. They fought each other, and I was like, "Who's this character? This is neat." And this is before I found out comic book stores existed.
Yep.
So then I started looking for those things. That's what they need to do. Put the burden on the advertisers. Of course, the advertisers are going to put it on their product, but if you don't buy their product, you still got a lower comic. You got the kid in the store, the comic's in his hand, and everybody's happy. That's how I look at it. Now, Marvel does make more money. They almost tied DC in sales of money, I should say, not sales of books, sales of money-wise, but that's because they're a higher price book, but they're not selling as many.
Yeah, they're not printing as many either, so.
Right, and that's perfect example. They're not printing as many, so if you're a collector, the Marvel book might be best because it could retain more value versus the third, fourth printings of Batman #1.
It also seems, too, that Marvel has a tendency, at least once or twice a year, to have a huge crossover.
Yeah.
That it crosses, and you almost have to... It wouldn't be that bad if you just got the 6 or 12-part storyline, but if they impact it where you have to get... all the following other issues
that you don't normally get.
I don't have
titles.
the money to have all that. If I'm not interested in that character, I shouldn't have to be forced to buy that book. If I want to follow up on the events of Civil War that affects, for example, the Avengers, one of the Avengers, then I could pick up that title if I want. DC doesn't seem to do as many big crossovers. I mean, they do, but I don't think it seems to be to the extent of what
Marvel does.
Well,
I think Marvel has a tendency to have especially their big summer crossovers. We've got to have, life-changing something happen to every single character in the Marvel universe, and DC doesn't necessarily do that. It might happen for one or two characters, and other characters may be involved, but it doesn't have to be super duper changing for DC. With Marvel, it seems like, something big always has to happen. Someone has to die and then can come back, or it just seems like they go to the well a little too much for me.
It's just like the Hulk, right? They just killed him off. Hawkeye killed him.
She-Hulk
and now She-Hulk is taking the place, but they're already talking that maybe the Green Hulk is coming back. So why play with us like this?
Yeah, and then they thought they killed She-Hulk and everything.
Then
else.
they made Amadeus Cho a Hulk.
Yeah,
right.
I'm like. The other thing I find with Marvel is that the stop-start Marvel. I know DC did it with New 52, and now they're doing it with Rebirth, but they don't have the track history of the stop-start
quite as Marvel does.
Marvel does.
Agreed.
And it seems like they're putting out more of a story. They seem to be a little bit more protective of their characters. And I mean characters, the good and the bad. You're using your supervillains. They're creating new characters. Marvel, it always seems like, it's, since 1963, the X-Men and Inhumans can't get along. They're friends up until this century. Yeah. And now they're fighting. The Captain America, is at odds with Falcon.
Yeah.
It's like they can't fight any bad guys. Like, you don't have any bad guys to use anymore. And then when you do have them, it's always the same. It's Doctor Doom, with Secret Wars. You have this whole vast array of characters, and you got amazing people writing
and drawing and everything else.
And the artwork seems to be, for my particular taste, when you're doing a book for a mature audience that's rated M, the artwork should be a little better. It shouldn't be geared down towards a kid's level. It's not made for that.
It's not Pokemon.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be.
I just think right now the editors at DC are putting on great stories. They're heroes and villains.
Oh, they're more into it. They're more concentrating on their product, I believe.
Yeah, and they said they were going to go back to their characters and the stories of what made them great. And right now, I think they have the edge right now.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a particular writer at Marvel. I don't know the guy. He might be a very nice guy, but I just don't like what he's doing to some of the characters. And as an editor of Marvel, I'd be like, why are you doing that to one of our flagship characters?
Okay.
I just don't like currently what they're doing with Captain America.
Well, whatever sells was what they're going to go for. And plus, they have to change things up. But at the same time, just because you change things doesn't mean it's going to be better.
Yeah. And
100%.
Where DC came right out and they were saying they want to get back to character-driven stuff and back to basics. And I think Marvel just got too commercialized, and we make good movies, and this is what we're going to do. And I think
their focus just changed.
Yeah, their focus just didn't get back to the basics.
Agreed. Well, look at the first Civil War. You could have bought the entire Civil War 6 issues, I think it was.
That was an amazing story.
And that was the first one, the condensed story.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to branch off, you certainly can. If you like Spider-Man, you could have followed Spider-Man when he took his mask off, but it happened in Civil War. So you didn't have to buy all the stuff that's out there.
And the thing is, if you didn't read that Spider-Man book, you wouldn't be lost.
You wouldn't be lost.
Correct.
And that was a great way of doing it.
And that's why I stopped buying Marvel, because you mentioned Secret Wars with Doctor Doom. When I got to that, and I was like, this is a joke. This is a joke.
Yeah, and it wasn't the same as the Secret Wars before.
The first one,
you know what I mean? They didn't even have to call it that.
Right,
they could have called it Doom's War or something.
Perfect.
Or whatever.
Just a war. Here's a current
or whatever.
Doom's World.
I mean, it was,
It took over.
Excellent. Party on. Sorry. But you're right. You're exactly right, because the Beyonder, we didn't know who he was, and this current generation probably doesn't know who he is
correct,
either.
Yeah.
They could have brought him back in.
And then they've tampered with
meaner.
that several times since the original Secret Wars, so with Beyonder and everything else. So.
Well, look at the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. The villain's supposed to be her. And she's almost a godlike creature like the Beyonder.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't we bring her into the comics again? And heavy duty style. Maybe she should have been the one in the Secret Wars instead of the Beyonder, instead of Doctor Doom. You're bringing her in because this movie was in production probably at the same time. Yeah. You have those meetings. You're talking about what superpower should we use, Doctor Doom, and then he offs Doctor Strange.
Now,
how incredible was that? Doctor Strange.
Or how did Doctor Strange even not somehow become buddy-buddy with Doctor Doom?
Well, because they saved the world together.
Well, I understand that,
but he took the Beyonder power within him. But, I mean, that's the thing.
I understand
why wouldn't
that,
Doctor Strange take it over Doctor Doom?
Yeah.
You should have an ultimate
power. And why
power?
settle once
No.
Doctor Doom has it? Doctor Strange is going to settle for that?
Right.
It's like the characters are not who they are.
Not really.
They're not true to self.
Now, since you were talking about some of these changes here, do you think it's better when they introduce changes in the movies for the Marvel or DC to adopt those changes in their books, or do you prefer them to don't touch the books? The books are what made those characters popular in the beginning, and keep them separated.
Should be separated.
Always separated, exactly. Because this new Riri, it for the Iron Man? Give her her own title, but keep Tony Stark in the armor. Then with Spider-Man, Peter Parker's a businessman now.
There's no reason it has to be.
No. Yeah. If you want to sit there, look at the Bat family.
The basics can be the same. You can keep the same villains and stuff like that, and the same origins. But other than that, do one thing in the comics and one thing in the movies or television or whatever.
Look at the DC Bat family. What they've done now is he has a Bat family, so we can actually have Red Robin. Spoiler: we could have Bat. Nightbat?
Nightwing.
Nightwing.
And then Man-Bat,
Right. Nightwing, Man-Bat.
That's one. So you have all these different characters, all different ethnicities, which they want to bring into power. And they bring all these different flavors, but Batman's title's still there. So if you like Nightbat, what is that? Nightwing. Thank you. Something like that. No, not Nightwing. Not Tim Grayson.
Okay, then
not
I
Dick
don't
Grayson.
know.
There's another one where I'm going to say this. He gives it to an African American. He gives him a Batman because he goes, I'm not going to be any Robin.
Oh yeah.
Which is cool because he has all the he fights like Dick Grayson, but he's like, I'm not going to be a sidekick. And he goes, No, I have a different plan for you. And he gives him like a bat suit.
Yeah.
And it's a different name. And there was a number 0 on this, and they had him flying through the pages.
I saw it, but I know who you mean. I can't think of his name right now. But
So you don't have to say Batman no longer exists and this person's going to take over because we want to change it up. Change it up and make it a Bat family.
Yeah.
And that way you can
do it
pick
in
the
the future
title
like they did with Batman Beyond and stuff like that.
Well, sure, but still, if you want to continue, like give Riri an armor, give Riri the armor. But you don't have to take it off Iron Man.
Or if you want to experiment an idea, go back to doing your 4-part or 5-part miniseries. Try it out. If it's a success and you want to go with it, start introducing more and more into the books.
Right.
But don't ruin a book.
Right, ruin a long title line, right?
With a long title line. And I think that's something to be proud of, to say that you are at 943 issues
Yes.
or 800 and something or whatever it is for Action Comics. To me, that's a legacy. I mean, how cool, if you have kids and they're into comics, how cool would that be to say, I started at issue 500.
Right.
And then it rolls on to everything else. And to me, that's just saying, we're successful. We've been running this thing for many years.
Right.
Never stopped.
Thor stopped, Hulk stopped, Iron Man stopped, Captain
practically
America.
everything has stopped at least
X-Men,
once.
Spider-Man never.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have rebooted it, But
they just renumbered
right.
it.
But that's the thing. And then they realize as we get to those higher numbers, let's go back because when we get to 1,000,
it's a game.
We're going to sell so many more issues. And they'll probably do like a Walking Dead. They'll put 1,000 different covers out. When Action hits it, and then when Batman Detective hits it, and that's the bad part about it. But that's the money-driven part about it. So we have to accept it.
Marvel has amazing.
Just don't have to have every issue.
And I don't. I like my money.
They have amazing characters. I just feel that if they were to get back to basics,
Marvel could do better. Definitely,
they could definitely do so much better.
Agreed.
Because they have so much potential out there, so many great characters, and DC's showcasing off, and they're introducing new characters. We got Godspeed in the Flash, which is another interesting speedster, and you were telling me about the Green Lanterns, the Baz, and what was Jessica Cruz. She's a new Lantern and a cool character. They're teaming up in a Justice League, mixing it up a little bit.
And they don't know their powers, so they're going to be good in a fight because Hal wouldn't fall for that same ruse as they will, and they might not be able to hit somebody like Sinestro as hard as Hal would. So you're going to see a writer have new challenges because they can't do all this. Well, and they're going to have to be more creative in what they will.
Yeah. And Justice League is Justice League, Justice Society versus you got the Avengers, Uncanny X-Men. Now you have Uncanny
Avengers.
They're all put together, and it's like, okay, there's one giant team, and it's good having good crossovers between the issues or guest appearances. Who doesn't like a guest appearance?
Of course.
Or a 4-part storyline.
Or just for one issue.
We used to love that when someone would come in there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was a special occasion.
I love those, because Hulk tried to pick up the hammer when you first saw that, or when Captain America went over and picked up the hammer and nobody thought he'd be able to pick it up. But they ruined it in the movies when they said Captain America couldn't, but he's technically worthy.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, what's
interesting
that about?
spin.
But
yeah, my whole idea is Marvel, if you want to bring the movies and books together, well, why don't you come up with your own storyline? We got Marvel comic
Marvel
groups,
Adventures,
and then Marvel cinema groups.
Yeah,
and
there you
can
go.
Put your own
trademark.
Keep it all movies and stuff like that. You can use that if you want. Just give me some free
Used to be Marvel
books.
Comics Group. Remember that?
Yeah.
Now then it can have Marvel Cinema Group.
Yeah, you can have Marvel Comics Group, Marvel Cinema Groups. Then you can keep them separated, and everybody's happy. Because I think...
But I'm not unless they bring their price down.
Yeah, same here. I agree with that.
Bring that price down.
But it would be nice to have them go back to the basics of what made them great.
Yep.
And that's what DC's doing. And I think it's paying off for them. They have some fantastic reads right now.
I mean, look what they did. Let's pick on Spider-Man before we end this thing, because Spider-Man...
Because it's real easy to do right now.
Yeah, right. But here's the thing. They gave him the, they killed Aunt May. They divorced him from MJ. Then he made a deal with the devil for one more day, it was, or something.
Oh, that was a horrible storyline.
Oh,
that's right up there with the clone line. Yeah.
It was terrible. And then everything went back to normal, and now he's an entrepreneur or a successful businessman. Yeah. And now Morales is it? That I forget his first name.
Miles Morales.
Miles. Yeah. He's the new Spider-Man because he came from the future. I mean, give him his own line, but don't take Peter Parker out of the tights.
Yeah, I like Miles Morales.
And just keep it, if you want to have two different, just classic Spider-Man and the new Spider-Man.
And now that they brought him in through Secret Wars and everything, but I agree, he should have his own title. Nothing against Miles Morales, showcase Miles.
That's Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man.
And it's great. Yes. They can have their own things. And it's like you're showcasing two great characters. And that'd be a great team-up thing. Great story ideas.
Sure. Dr. Ock is doing something, and it's going to take both their
Miles
powers.
is in Chicago, and Peter's in New York.
Yeah, they can double the area of superheroism.
Yeah. And there's no doubt. There's so much better that they can do, and I'm sure the fan base is agreeing because you don't see multiple issues being sold. With their high priced, they should be beating out DC if people are really coming down the pike for them. They don't have the volume, they just have the money sales.
And when you talked about the different things of what they did with Spider-Man with the brand new day, the
One More Day and Brand New Day,
and the divorcing of MJ and stuff, where we said about characters should be held to higher standards in that regards because they're superheroes. There's a book about the history of Marvel. I forget the name of it, but I'll find that out and we'll post it.
Can I take a guess? Marvel's history of Marvel? Maybe?
I forget the guy who wrote it, but it's that red book that by Marvel, and they talked about the guys when they did the whole Clone Wars, and the writers themselves weren't happy with it. They didn't like it. It wasn't selling, and they said there's ways they had to try and fix it. They tried to come up with fix it, but the people to be in power at Marvel said, no, we can't do that. Well, I don't know if it's people's egos that get in the way, that maybe you should, hey, your idea sucks, it's not working, let's recap it, or somehow fix
or move
it.
On.
Don't
just
keep,
move on.
Don't keep moving it on.
And move on to the next story.
And I know a lot of people quit during that time period because you had to go from all these different issues, and they're raising prices up, and it just wasn't a great story.
Well, the biggest
people
fact is
add
that
and drop titles all the time.
Yeah, but here's the thing that hurt the most when they said Peter Parker was a clone, Ben Reilly was the original. That pissed off the community because I think I was working at a comic book store during this time, and
it sucked because if you've been following the character for all these years,
Peter
it's
Parker?
like what?
Yeah. So then you could sit there and say,
so
well,
everything
no
that I
wonder.
had before was a lie. So anything that I had before could be, you could just change anything at any time.
Appearance either.
Well, or you can just mean that you can't trust any of the history of the continuity because at any point in time they can change whatever they want.
Captain America's Hydra now.
Captain America's now part of Hydra.
Right, but we already know that they changed the history by saying, "Oh, well, Bucky never died," and okay, well, that's a fine tune. That doesn't hurt. But when you take a person,
and plus that took years, decades and decades and decades before they messed with that.
And they came up with at least a plausible origin.
Yeah, it was acceptable.
And
either it's accepted or it's not.
And look at what Jeff Johns did. When they brought back Green Lantern and the Flash with not the rebirth that launched now, but
the first rebirth.
When they brought all those characters back when Barry Allen was down, he came up with a great storyline. Boom, kept it in there, and they brought him back. And it's like, so when you said they brought back Bucky, Brubaker came up with a great idea. They went with it. And it made sense to the universe.
It was completely
made sense
plausible.
to the universe.
But Jeff Johns' version of this is what bothered me with Jeff Johns' Green Lantern, because you brought this up, so I figured let's talk about it. Yeah. They killed Kilowog in those issues. They killed Sinestro in those issues.
Yeah, they shouldn't have killed
Parallax invaded Hal Jordan. He died. He became the Spectre for a while. Then he got. Then that was his thing. Now, remember that girl? She pre-aged herself so she could be Hal Jordan's age. She had like white hair, yellow skin, ears. I can't think of her. She was dead as well. A whole bunch of Green Lanterns, and they called them the Lost Green Lanterns because some alien race captured them, faked their deaths, and actually had them in prison. So when Rebirth came, Hal Jordan found them and all this stuff. That was the non-plausible side that I didn't like, because he retwisted the history and said, okay, this didn't happen. Kilowog is alive, blah, blah, blah. Parallax is this yellow thing, and it kept Sinestro alive. His essence was in there until he can find another host. I mean,
some of the stuff they kind of draw the line.
Yeah, come on.
But was that in a 6-part storyline, was it? When they brought Hal Jordan back?
When they brought Hal Jordan back? No, they brought Hal
longer than that.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All those things that happened over like a year period.
Yeah.
Right, because I'm trying to think. I remember.
Because that was stuff before I read.
Didn't they make a fake? Was that Oliver Queen when they? Because Hal Jordan made a body for Oliver Queen, they had to get his soul into it. But when he was the Spectre, it was a torn thing that to come back. Remember, he had to tear himself away from being the Spectre anymore. And then they gave it to Crispus Allen.
I kind of remember some of that because of different things, where he made appearances in different comic books. But that was before I read Green Lantern. I got into it when Jeff Johns took over the writing of the Green Lantern.
Regular series.
Yeah, the regular series.
I'll have to go back to
because he had that rebirth where they brought Hal Jordan. How are you going to bring Hal Jordan back? And then they started that series, which led into Blackest Night, into 52. Then.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in the Green Lantern rebirth, he was alive at this point. So I don't know what issues it took place. This was all before Blackest Night stuff, but it's because of. In fact, in Rebirth, they brought the Black Hand back, and that's why they knew they were going to bring him back into once the regular series happened. But it was all that. I want to say maybe there was like a 6-issue run where maybe it wasn't on the Rebirth, maybe it was prior to Rebirth, where they answered the questions of saying what Hal Jordan did to separate himself from the Spectre, who now he's the Green Lantern. He doesn't have the Parallax in him. The spirit is Sinestro's in that Parallax, and that's what was driving him to do the evil things and all that other fun stuff. But the bottom line is they really stretch. When you talk plausible, that was a stretch.
You got to be careful. I think you have to be careful when you stretch the characters because they do have a bio, they do have a history, and from what I understand, the editors keep all this stuff, and when you end up writing a book, maybe the writers should take a little bit more careful, or editors, on reading this stuff and say,
you can't do that because of this and this and this. And
because
it's going to have to change prior history, so don't do that.
Your fan base will have it. You have it, but I also think it grows the character, makes the character a little bit more interesting. When you start doing that far-fetched stuff like the Ben Riley with the Spider-Man stuff, I think that hurts the character.
Sure.
But that's just my opinion.
But that stopped sales. That sales dropped big time. And then they said, oh, no, the Jackal was joking.
Exactly,
He didn't,
we made a mistake.
Yeah. So, if anything, just keep Ben Riley in a certain other part of Manhattan. And Peter has
Marvel
this
too. The New World or whatever.
Yeah. Just, maybe make him a younger version of Peter Parker, of course, so that you can go after a teenage group and make it like that tongue-in-cheek stuff. That's not the stuff that we want out of our Peter Parker.
He's a clone. He's a clone. We're not going to kill the clone, but let the clone develop and become his own man, and own superhero.
Right. And as he's going through his learning process, it's going to be fun for teenagers that jump on board, and he'll be talking about Twitter and tweaking and all that weird stuff. And then they go from there, and they grow with him.
It's either that, or you grow and you kill all the characters off and you replace them with new ones.
The Beyonder comes in and says, no, I'll retool you.
All within 2 issues.
And the collector comes.
Because we don't want to miss a beat.
Bruce Wayne is old. He now sits behind a computer, engages a new Batman. When he dies, the new Batman takes over.
And he's so beat up, all he can do is blink.
Yeah.
Because what was that thing? It was the Batman Beyond, the cartoon. The old Bruce Wayne was in the wheelchair and he was talking to the new Batman. That was a cool cartoon. I like
love
that.
Batman Beyond, but he wasn't in a wheelchair.
Or wasn't it? I don't remember. I always saw it. But he was old. Yeah.
He was old.
He was very old.
Crippled half the time.
Yeah, poor guy.
Anyway.
It's good.
Okay.
Did we kill this one?
I believe so.
I think we should bury it. We did good.
Well, we still love Marvel, but DC's much better.
It,
but they don't.
And they're definitely doing better right now.
And they all go up and down. But right now,
DC's
is on top of their game.
Butt. DC's kicking butt. Well, if you get tired of the same old story, please turn some comic book pages and leave any comments in the box below. We like them.
And like us on Facebook.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Subscribe.
Thank you.
Thank you.